You are watching the number one podcast in the whole entire youth wrestling community, and I'm one of your hosts, Juanzo.
And I'm your other host, Jean-Paul Leek.
And together we are
Road Break.
And welcome to another week of the Wednesday Night Wars. Like I said, we kind of hate the kind of title. We don't really like that. But
he loves it. He loves it.
Yeah, I do. It's Wednesday Night Wars, another episode of that. And of course, we have NXT for you guys as the first dish. Tomorrow we will have AEW. And I think that this show was actually not bad. We have a lot of things that are going to be taking place. For example, like the Women's Dusty Classic started. More like Dusty Classic for the men's also, like more development. We had a 5-pit match with Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher. So we're excited because actually the winner was not predictable. So good on WWE.
And this show, like you said, compared to recent weeks, I think if you go segment by segment, this has been better. But I mean, there was some really crappy segments. Some things I personally didn't like, would have booked a little different. But for NXT, and you hate to say it because you think a year and a half, 2 years ago, NXT was so good. That was by far the best wrestling show on TV, and it's like, now it's like, oh, this episode was decent, and when it's decent, you're all like, yeah, because normally we get bullshit. Normally it almost rivals SmackDown, but this was a pretty solid episode of NXT.
Yeah, so family, thank you so very much for commenting, for the subscriptions that you give us every single time. Thank you for believing in us. Keep doing so, because we're never going to stop. You know what? The show is bullshit, but the review is pretty good. Jean-Paul Egg with Monday Night Raw. Let him in.
Yeah, let Rope Break in. Click subscribe, and then we'll be in your subscription box every day, sometimes multiple times a day. But also, check out the Monday Night Raw. We saw the return of everybody's favorite Gilbert. He came out, and the Dirt Sheet, they're just making fun of the match of the Royal Rumble. Miz has the briefcase. He still poses a threat, but then we saw the tease, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, and then Alexa Bliss. I guess she has the Fiend's powers. Maybe the Fiend is his spirit's living inside her since Bray Wyatt's body is burned. Who knows? But we saw her beat Asuka, so maybe a title match at the Royal Rumble. Who knows? But we will see.
Hopefully not a title switch.
No, she said she's in the Royal Rumble. I lied. Yeah, so there will be no title match.
Yes. And that was really quick. Adam Pearce sent a tweet explaining that rule. It said that most wrestlers that are unable to announce they're entering the Royal Rumble, it's because they were given that option. The ones that don't get that, they have to qualify for a spot. So WWE sent Adam Pearce to say that because everybody, I guess, is complaining of why does people are doing that. But anyway, Don't forget to watch the review. Great stuff for Jean-Paul covering all the 3 hours of Monday Night Raw. Gilbert does the one thing that it was really cool. Let's start with the beginning of NXT Poll, and this was a match that at least I think match quality was pretty decent. We got The Way with Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory going against Kushida and Leon Ruff. But like you said, The Way has lost its way.
Yeah, I didn't like this just because you look at all four of these guys in the match, and I think if you combined any of the two on the right, after Austin Theory, or any of the combined any of those two out of the three, they weigh less than Austin Theory. He was the biggest guy in this match, and he was doing the most selling. He was getting beat up the most, so to me that didn't make any sense. You have the role of him and Gargano is completely flipped, but obviously they're not going to job out Gargano, even though this whole group, The Way, like you said, is to me jobbed out. But I mean, Kushida looked good. I just don't find Leon Ruff believable when he's beating up Austin Theory. To me, that just doesn't look like it should even be plausible in this universe or any. But I mean, Kushida he looks really good, and I'm a huge fan of his. And I think you could have booked this where Kushida and Leon Ruff lose the thing, but they beat down Leon Ruff, they kick his ass, and they maybe taunt Kushida. And then we could, saw what we saw in one of the women's Dusty Classic matches. We could see Kushida causing some interference, then maybe causing The Way to lose the match, getting the revenge, and keeping the storyline going. But at least give The Way the win here because, like I said, I don't see Candice and Indy Hartwell winning their match. So, this I didn't like for opening match.
It was different, and the one thing, like you said, Leon did most of the load, but when Kushida came, tag in, he good stuff, good combat.
Oh, right? Yeah, I mean, I love that move where he looks like he has him in a suplex, and when he hits down, or a tiger driver or something, but when he hits down on it, he goes right into the armbar. I mean, that's a really legit move, and Kushida I like. It's just, you put him with Leon Ruff, it's like he's out there with one of those wrestling buddies from the early 90s, the stuffed animal buddies. It's like that who his partner might as well be. They weigh the same.
There were some spots that like you thought that like because of, like the combinations that like Theory and Gargano were doing, like the super kick, and then like for example he'll do that big move that he does, like turning around and then he slams it. That was like good, but in the end, like you said, Kushida did like a modified, just like a suplex, and then with bridge, and that's he got the 1, 2, 3 on like a pretty like groggy Gargano.
I think he had like almost like a submission locked into when he did the suplex into the bridge. Yeah, it was really innovative, legit offense by Kushida. So that was good just for Kushida to have a strong performance here, but otherwise, like I said, to me, this is the wrong team to have.
If anything, bring back Alex Shelley, because Shelley, he didn't even wasn't on Impact. So like I put like instead of Leon Ruff, like you said, the one thing is with Leon Ruff is like because of like how they start booking him, it's just hard to like get with the guy, get involved with him, maybe become a fan, get behind the guy, because like he just like is not good when it comes to like believing. It's like, oh, this guy was like a North American champion, and that's really annoying at times. So like maybe that's why we don't like this. So like let's see the bracket poll, right? They're undisputed era, like they're waiting for like whoever wins them their matches right there with Tony Nese and Ashanti Adonis. That are actually in a little bit we're going to talk about them. So Kushida and Leon Ruff are going to go as the Grizzled Your Veterans. I think that's the end for this tag team. I think Grizzled Your Veterans are going to advance, and as you can see, Lucha House Party against Legado del Fantasma. That is going to be a good match. I really like this, and like some matches like we didn't see because they actually took place in 205 Live. They're pretty much like the matches that don't even, nobody cares about. For example, like I said, like Abel Fantasma against the Hollywood, like the Hollywood Brothers, I think they're called. Like
the Bollywood Boys.
Yeah, like the Bollywood, and that's like the Maharaja, like boys that like they used to come out with Jinder Mahal. Like we didn't even.
No, what was it? Was it Samir and.
Samir and Nair, or like or like Jair, or like something like that.
Jinder Jr. Yeah, no, like you said, and then Killian Dane and Drake Maverick versus Curtis Stallion and August Gray. I mean, I would have liked to see that match just because Curtis Stallion is like, I think he's still going after, or he is the number one contender for the cruiserweight, on this brand, but it's, and then we don't even see this guy wrestle because, who watches 205 Live? Nobody. I can almost guarantee more people watch Rope Break than watch 205 Live. So
it better be.
Yeah, exactly. At this point, otherwise I'll feel bad about us. But
yes,
no, I mean this. I like how this bracket is shaping up, and I do like that. How like those bullshit matches, at least we didn't have to see them.
It's like soccer, like the bullshit matches you never watch. It was like in a game, you say you want to skip this match, yes, and you just can't get the winner. So that's what happened. This is important though. Pete Dunne got a really good promo on Finn Balor. They said, remember, Paul, we're made for the same cloth. And it's like, but I put the NXT brand, the NXT UK brand on the map. I won the title. And also, like, I was the longest champion. And I main evented takeovers. I came to America, was an NXT, while you were just in the main roster, just being a mockery of yourself. Being a jobber, just being made fun of, all of that. So it's like, but now I want you. I want a shot of your title, and I'm going to prove you that I'm the better man, and all of that. So you see, I'm predicting that NXT takeover that is going to take place on February 14th. Valentine's Day is going to be Pete Dunne against Finn Balor, and that's good because you said Karrion is not even involved in this.
Yeah, I like this promo. To me was legit, and we finally see Pete Dunne. Like a promo like this is good because a lot of times when he talks, you feel like he doesn't really care. Like he's just like, it's like this guy doesn't even want to be there. But this promo, it had emotion. It felt legit. But I always love when people say about Finn Balor, oh yeah, you went to the main roster and then you became bullshit. It's like, well, I did win the Universal Championship. So if he didn't get hurt, who knows what his future would have been on the main roster.
Would have been the real booking because, like you said, he got injured and then it's like everything came down. Yeah,
but I mean, this, but like, that aside, the what ifs, this was really good, and I'm excited to see this match. And I love that when he's like, get in, when it cuts back and he's like, oh, you want to face the champ, get in line, and he's like, get in line, and then I wish he would have said like, I am the head of the line or something like that, but he didn't. But
I think he was about to say I'm the head of the table, and everybody's
like, they're like, no, like that's
right. Yes. So now let's go to something that I don't think that this show needed it. Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross goes against Ashanti Adonis, and like this is something like I was telling even you. I'm like, why is this even taking place? Nobody cares about this. Like, especially in the way that like he just kills the guy in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, especially because Ashanti Adonis, was one of the guys who, he was helped Swerve Scott and with when they, and I believe it was to go against them. And they were kind of building him up a little bit. Obviously, he was on 205 Live. We joke about that show, but I mean that's good to get the guys ready. So you can have them on NXT or main roster or whatever you want to do with them. But it's, you're trying to build him up, and then Karrion kicks this dude's ass, and and then pretty much plays with him like a cat playing with a mouse, and it's like, this just, that just kills all the credibility that this guy, the little bit he might have built up so far. But yeah, I didn't need to see this because we already knew Karrion was a monster.
Yeah.
So I mean, and also, who was the guy from Philadelphia? Was it Tahuti Miles or somebody? You could have had him just beat that guy up. Nobody cares about him.
Yeah, that's the guy, and like unfortunately, like
Karrion. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say like he's debuting a new finisher because he did like another shot at the back in the neck. So that's how he and did the Saito suplexes, and that was all he did. And then like you said, he wins. So Karrion, of course, he gets over, and then he did the straight jacket to the other guy. So like he was really beating up both. So like of course, Karrion is gonna get over, but is it really needed? No, just have the.
And I wonder if they're gonna sell that. So then Tony Nese and I forget who his partner was in the bracket are gonna maybe easily beat these two, and then that will be the match for the Undisputed Era.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. Yeah, you're right. Because let's go with the bracket one more time. Because like I think that it's gonna be Tony Nese and Ara Dabari. And Ashanti and Desmond Troy. Those were the two guys.
Yeah, and I think hopefully they sell the injury because that would make Karrion seem more legit if they would sell the injury for next week. And then, they will lose that match. And then Tony Nese will actually get a win, starting off 2021 pretty good.
That hopefully he gets something, good for him. But like I said, Karrion Kross is good, but it's not needed every single week either. So please keep him away. It's not really needed. So let's go to the next match that took place for the Dusty Cup Classic, and it's going to be Imperium going against the Lucha House Party. This is another swerve that they did to us because everybody would put like their money on Imperium.
Go back and last week, what did the best booker in the business predict?
Yeah.
I said Lucha House Party is going to win this thing. And I almost predicted what we saw afterwards. I don't know if I said exactly, but I'm like, something's going to happen, and these guys they're going to get called back to NXT UK. But I mean, we'll get to the ending when we get there. But I mean, this was a legit match. I love Lucha House Party. Imperium is so good too. And this match wouldn't seem as such a shocker. It wouldn't seem like, oh my God, they buried Imperium or all, whatever you want to say negative about it. If the Lucha House Party was presented the way that they should have been presented, their whole career. Grand Metalik legit in the Cruiserweight Classic tournament.
Yes.
And, Lince Dorado, all these guys, even Kalisto, at his 4'2" height, all three of these guys are badass, but, Lucha House Party, I wish you would also give them a new name. I feel Lucha House Party kind of makes them seem like it reminds you like, oh yeah, they're a joke with a piñata and all the other bullshit, but
and the music also. So
oh yeah, no, but this was a really good match. I enjoyed it, and what do you think?
Only it was pretty good, and the one thing I really appreciated is like you said, like Imperium looked really strong, but that also enhances the Lucha House Party because like if your rival looks that good and you still beat them, then you kind of have to have some kind of like legitimacy. You have to have some kind of like strength to be able to put out.
Yeah, and think how this works out. I mean, now unfortunately these guys are still on the main roster. We are still seeing them there, so they're not full time in NXT, but people have been saying NXT's tag division has been at an all-time low. They need tag teams, and this is a legit tag team, and it's babyface luchadors that you can feud with Legado del Fantasma. So they're doing it right, and hopefully these guys can eventually just, Monday Night Raw, we'll see you later, and they can be full-time on NXT where I think they'll flourish.
Yeah, like you said, and then in the end, like the Lucha House Party wins. Good match, like you said, but like, see, this is the main thing. Well, the Lucha House Party advances, but like Jean-Paul mentioned, ba-bam, look at that, ba-bam. Like Imperium are going back to the gorilla position, back to the lockers, and boom, Alexander Wolf right there, just checking them out, like seeing them is like, okay, maybe like you said, they're going to go back to NXT UK, which is good because like finally Imperium is going to be reunited, and that's what they need because Walter and Wolf, they look kind of like alone. And of course, like Bartel and Agner, they look alone here. So now they're going to look like a whole unit.
Oh, that would be like think about it. Like you take Evolution or somebody, and you just have you have Triple H, and you just have Batista. Like you take out the other two, or you have whichever group you have DX. You have Triple H, you have Billy Gunn. Where's Shawn Michaels and Road Dogg? You know what I mean? It's just like you need everybody for it to feel legit.
And it doesn't look right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like I said to you, in the end, guys, boom, the Lucha House Party are the winners, but Alexander Wolf, is back with Imperium, meaning like is either he's here in the States or he's gonna go back to the UK.
I'm thinking they're taking them back because there's nothing left for them to do here.
You know, it's like, oh, come back, come back, you losers, like you suck now. Let's come back and be legit over there. So good stuff. I really like that. So now let's go back with something that we didn't mention that we can say right now. Beth Phoenix was back in the building actually. Yes. With Barry and Big Joseph. That added a lot more depth and a lot of more charisma to the calling of the matches, to the commentary. I really like that because Beth is more relatable than the other two. I mean, Wade Barrett is funny, but he has his own sense of humor. And like I said, Big Joseph is very monotonic, meaning like he's more WWE.
Yeah,
like,
very Michael Cole. Like I always like to call them the clones of Michael Cole, like him, Tom Phillips, Byron Saxton, brother from another mother, Michael Cole. You know,
when you were saying about Impany, about Max Striker, you're right. Though, like Max Striker sells you wrestling like as a freaking legit sport.
But yeah, with Beth, she was always doing the commentating. But when you're sitting at home watching it on a TV monitor, that's like okay. But when you're there seeing it in person, you could feel she had more legit energy and stuff. So that was good. And I don't be surprised if she was only here this week because of the the first night of the Women's Dusty Classic. I wouldn't be surprised if she would be like, okay, I got to go back home and take care of Edge.
Yeah, well, he's still injured, right? Quote unquote injured. Like, so she was just introducing like the Women's Dusty Cup. That was good. I mean, she mentions a lot of names: Asuka, Becky Lynch, Charlotte, Bayley, even Carmella.
Yeah, pretty much saying how like it's such an honor. This is so legit. The women's evolution started here in NXT, so like this is awesome, and we see some of the new signees there. Priscilla Kelly, and I forget the name of the other two, but they did sign. Kelly,
yeah, there are a lot of like the new signees, like that are like, or they already like changed their names, but like you said, like NXT, they signed a lot of girls, like you said, the division needs a lot of more depth into it. But of course, Paul will always bring the best information, so of course we're gonna give you all the names, and it's gonna be Priscilla Kelly. They did also Eliana Black and Lacey Ryan. Those are the regular names that they have, but of course WWE changed them, and now they're going to be called Cora Jade, and also it's going to be Zoe Stark, and Priscilla Kelly is going to be known as Gigi Dolan. So Gigi Dolan, and they're going to be featured in the Dusty Club and the Dusty Classic. So we have the bracket for the girls also. See, Robriga, we go to the extents of everything, best information ever, right there. So you see Gigi Dolan and Cora Jade. That's going to be, so two of the new signees. We have Shotzi Blackheart and Amber Moon against Marina Shafir and Zoe Stark. That's another one of the signees. Candice LeRae and Hartwell. We see Mercedes Martinez.
Oh, okay. So they changed it up. I was thinking the first match was going to be Shotzi and Ember Moon versus Candice and Indy. So Candice and Indy will win their match. They'll beat the newbies, and then they'll lose to Shotzi and Ember Moon in the semifinals.
Ali and Jesse Cammy on the other side of the bracket, and Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. So that's going to be all this. There's going to be this 4 brackets. Are going to be like the Dusty Classic for the women. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. But like you said, boom, they gave us right away to the match, and it was going to be Toni Storm, Mercedes Martinez against Casey Catanzaro and Kaden Carter. So the KK is going against these two girls that like are pretty well known, and they were the badasses. They cut a promo. They even said, hey, like, you guys are best friends. We don't need to be best friends. We just have something in common interest. That is, we want to win the whole thing. We just want that, and maybe have an opportunity to win those tag titles. So as you can see, that was pretty cool. Did you like the match? I think the match quality was a little sloppy for me, but I want to hear it for you.
Yeah, I mean, I like Toni Storm, Mercedes Martinez. To me, they were the two stars of this thing. Obviously, I've been a huge fan of Mercedes Martinez. When she was in Retribution, I'm like, oh my God, why? This is awful. Then she went away for a while, and I'm like, this is even more awful because maybe they're just not going to use her. But then she came back here in NXT, and, it's legit. I'm excited for this feud with Io. And like I said, the two of them are good. I like Kaden Carter a lot more than Casey Catanzaro. I think she's, going to be the star of the group. You hate to use the old cliche, but it's like, who's the Sean and who's the Janetti? And it's like, well, I think I know who the Janetti is. Sorry, Puma, but your wife's not a good wrestler. And, but Kaden Carter, to me, like I said, she's the one who you can do something with. But, I mean, they're a young, hot babyface team. You can do something with them. Fans, whether they're in the building, they're legit ones or not, can eventually get behind these two, and they have the energy and the chemistry. You see when they cut a promo, they're fired up. They're not like, so we're gonna win. Yeah, they have that intensity and like clear baby face. But
best promo, but it's intense. It's intense enough. Yes,
yeah, and I like this. It was good enough. Like I said, I didn't expect Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect quality out of this match, but then Io Shirai comes down when Mercedes Martinez there. She kind of like almost struggles to pick up the woman that's way bigger than her, and like kind of just drops her on the announce table, and the ref apparently doesn't hear Michael Cole Jr. yell, "Oh my God, it's Io Shirai," and all this other stuff, and because that should have been, "Oh, Io Shirai, she just dropped her on the announce table, ding, ding, ding." The heels win this in advance because this isn't no DQ. So that's now twice we're kind of seeing interferences in matches, and the refs are just completely blowing it, and that takes me out of it. So I didn't like that at all, and I thought I don't like when the babyface champ kind of just comes down and does that. Because then it's like, oh, you're like stooping to the heels level. And I don't know. I would have rather just seen a legit match. But, Kayden Carter, after all this distraction and stuff, she hits this huge, 450 splash, some kind of craziness. Yeah, like you got to look this up. But I mean, legit. Oh, yeah, Catanzaro, excuse me. And then, but legit. And I mean, it was a good finish. And,
Kaden set her up though. Kaden set her up like she did like a move into like Tony's neck, like really twisting it. So like that was like okay, like so Tony's just done, and then like you said, it was like a mixture of like 450, like a tornillo and a finish splash, all in one shot.
That's what I mean, like she's extremely athletic, and I think with her like legit athleticism, she will learn. But I mean, right now you can definitely tell these two are very green. And, they can improve. But, I mean, the sky's the limit for this babyface team because they're both probably, 23, 24. I'm sure they're not very old.
Yes, the energy is there, and I really like that. And like I said, she did a beautiful tornillo, though. And I just love the move because tornillo reminds me of my Hispanic roots. But like you said, I really feel that, in this situation, they had to book it in this way. So, you're promoting new teams, and these two girls are the new team, and then you actually tie the...
and I mean, I guess, you could say, oh, well, it's okay, because they probably would have beat them if it wasn't for EO and all this stuff, but I just don't like it because the two of them, if that's what you were going to do, don't even put them in the Dusty Classic.
Yeah.
Just have them be like, we don't care about the Dusty Classic, fuck that, we want EO.
Yeah.
And then put another team in there.
Yeah, well, I think that's the only reason that they did it, because they're going to tie it. They're going to tie it, and which they did, because you can see here, we go to the next match, and that was going to be Tyler Rust. Tyler Rust had a promo with William Regal, and also Malcolm Bivens was right there, and he's like, hey, he was like, bro, I just booked myself a match, and he's like, oh, it's legit, and they get like, who did? Who against? And he's like, oh, Bronson Reed. He's like, so...
I love when he leads it. He's like, that's not what I would have did, but it's too late now, so...
You already fucked it up, my friend. You already, messed it up. So, you see, in the middle of this match, like I said, Bronson Reed against Tyler Ross, then there you go. You see, there was, interactions between, Io and Tony. So, you said, they tied it along, but, sometimes, is it needed to just, waste, maybe two other women that could have a legit opportunity?
No, because that match, it didn't... the only team it really helped was the ones who won it. It didn't do anything for the heels in this. So I don't know. I wouldn't have did it, but like you said, it's whatever. Now the only thing is it Tony versus Io? Is it Mercedes versus Io? Is it a triple threat?
It might be a triple threat.
Is Regal going to make these two heels fight each other to determine the number one contender? I mean, I don't know.
I love it, so I think it's going to be a triple threat. But like I said, this match we had, and this was pretty quick, of course you got to put over Bronson Reed and the tsunami. That's what they call him.
Yeah, I mean Tyler Rust, I like. He's the same thing with what is it, Alex Gray or whoever the hell from Thatcher's school.
Yeah,
with a Curtis. Don't call me bro stallion
or the stallion. Yes.
Yeah, but this was I like the two of them, but and I'm thought, okay, maybe they're going to do something legit with this guy. And as soon as he said, "Oh, Bronson Reed," I'm like, well, there goes that. And but Bronson Reed, legit, they're building him up. The only thing that scares me is that they're building him up, and Kushida's in the thing. And if they do Kushida versus Bronson Reed, I don't see Kushida winning. So I really hope they don't hot potato it.
Hopefully, what I'm thinking is maybe just have Bronson Reed just beating guys. Maybe give it a month and just give him having matches so he's still relevant. But then they give Kushida the title, and then he'll be able to hold it a little bit, because I don't see two baby faces going at each other. Or unless he turns heel, and then maybe he goes against Kushida.
I mean, I would love to see a legit feud that's more than one match. Would be Bronson Reed versus Karrion Kross.
See, that would be better.
Because that's somebody who is with the sheer size of him would give Cross some trouble, because who gave Cross the most trouble so far? Keith Lee.
Damien Priest.
Oh, I would say Keith Lee too.
And Keith Lee, yes, and Keith
Yeah.
Lee. Well, and if you're talking that and out, yes, both guys are comparing the same in size and same kind of like fighting style. So yeah, you're making a good point right there. So let's go with like the Prince. We got to see Finn Balor, and he goes to Regal. He's like, two British guys going, and he's like, hey, bro. He's like, you know what I won? I won Dunne, and I want it done now. So there you go. And he's like, well, no, we gotta wait. We have takeover. Like, wait, it's like a month away, so just gotta chill out.
Yeah, well, he said he wants Pete Dunne, but he's like, I want to kick. He's like, not just Pete Dunne. He's like, I want to kick Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch's ass first. Yeah, and then he pretty much said he wanted him 2-on-1, and Regal's like, no, like, why are you being bullshit? I can't lose my champion again. So like, he's like, it's got to be a tag match, and he's like, the Prince, I don't have any friends, I do this alone. And then he's like, well, like the old saying goes, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. So he's like, ask one of your enemies then, because they're close by. Yeah, you don't have any friends. So then you thought, okay, who's he gonna ask? Boom, comes in here. And, he looks at Kyle O'Reilly, and he's like, hey, let's do this. Or are you still drinking your meals from a straw? And then Roderick is like, hey, Prince. And I'm like, why does he call him Prince? So I'm like, what is this? Is this like, Raspberry Beret? I'm like, what the fuck's going on here?
It's 1999 with the Prince. It's Purple Rain. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, is this the artist formerly known as Finn Balor? But, he comes in, and then Kyle O'Reilly accepts. So, okay, like, this is one of those, it's going to be a legit match, but who do you think's going to win?
What is happening, Paul?
Yeah, who do you think's going to win this?
Well, this. Come on, it's Fowler and O'Reilly. Like, then you need to give the baby faces the win.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing legit we would maybe do is if you have Pete Dunne come down and he somehow, now again, it's an interference and it's bullshit, but maybe they beat the shit, or at least maybe after the match, beat the shit out of Kyle O'Reilly, do something to gain some heat, because I feel if the baby faces beat him, Balor goes into that match and beats Dunne, that kills all their heat.
Well, yeah, like, you're booking it that way, so like we'll see. But I say baby faces win. You say Lorcan and Burch. They're the tag team champions, so they should have a win. I agree with you on that. So we'll see what happens. But that was what we have when it comes to the Prince Finn Balor, and like you said, the artist formerly known as Finn Balor. So let's go, to the next thing. A really good promo by Santos Escobar. This guy is so good when it comes to speaking, and he actually touches every single thing that is happening in NXT at the moment. So he goes, hey, I'm not a champion like Finn Balor that has a glass jaw. Not like he gets broke.
He pretty much called out all the champions in saying that they lost their first title defense.
Yes,
or they forfeit or everything. So.
Karrion Kross, same thing, with Keith Lee, one like it gets like the shoulder dislocated and done. I'm not like Johnny Gargano that like has to beat a curse to retain champion. And he says, well, and now my guys, the Legado del Fantasma, they're gonna like actually advance to like the next round, and they're gonna win the whole thing. So then they're gonna have a tag team championship opportunity, and we're all gonna have gold. So that was really cool. Didn't you like this? I think Santos.
I love it. And my favorite part is like, he brought up Gargano, brought up Balor, and I love when he talked about Karrion Kross. He's like, oh yeah, some people think they're cool because they have a nice car and a good looking mamacita and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that's legit. But I mean, Santos is badass because you got to think, and he's had that belt for a while. And, he puts on legit matches, and, he's a legit promo, always comes out in a suit. He's always looking good. So, I agree with everything he said. I thought the first part of this was good.
Yeah, and then we got to see the Stallion and the Lucha House Party. They came out because they're going to have the match. That's the next round for the Dusty Classic. And then the Stallion came out to help out to even the odds. So you see 3 against 3. So you see like a lot of tension. And Santos Escobar, Drake Maverick was actually cutting a promo on that. And he's like, oh, get the hell out of here. You suck. So then you go, like, oh, so you think you can embarrass me in front of everybody? He's like, okay, let's see like if you can back it up. So next week, we're going to have a cruiserweight championship match. It's going to be Santos Escobar against the Stallion, against like a Matt Riddle wannabe right there. So,
and an unrelated note, but also related, fuck the Hardy Bros. Give me Curtis Stallion and Matt Riddle as a tag team. And the Stallions. The Stallions. I mean, look at them. They're both like, got the blonde hair, long. It's like, yeah.
They look alike, so like, why don't you do that? So like, it's going to be another championship opportunity. That's pretty good. So hopefully Santos Escobar retains, because and Jean Paul always says in NXT UK that it's going to be tomorrow. So please stay tuned for that. And he says it's going to be Devlin against Santos Escobar.
Yes, but this should be a good showing for Stallion. Like I said, this will probably be a lot. Tonight was probably the first time a lot of people saw this guy. The Cruiserweight Championship match will be the first time people can see him wrestle. So that'll be really good. I'm looking forward to it. Like you said, it's Devlin and Escobar.
Yeah, Santos Escobar and Devlin. So, Paul, next week is going to have a pretty decent show. There you go. We're going to have more matches of the Dusty Classic. We're going to see MSK, the newest one from Impact against Ray Maverick and Killian Dane. Those two guys here, I'm sorry, you guys, it's not a legit tag team, so thank you. MSK is going to go over, and then the Grill Jump Veterans against Kushida and Leon Ruff. That one is going to be still interesting. Because you might say, you've been talking about this whole show, there might be interference from Gargano also.
Oh yeah, no, there will be Gargano. They definitely that one. You can set your watch to that happening.
Yeah. So now, Paul, finally, let's go to the main event. Actually, a fight pit. Now, this always happened one time in this whole the stint of the company because it's such a dreading match. It's such a violent match. It's gonna be Tommaso Ciampa against Timothy My Teeth Suck Thatcher. I don't have enough money to go for the dentist to fix them, but I like the whole rivalry, at least how they presented it in this particular show, Paul. I just think that they made it look so special. The only thing that I didn't like is you always mentioned 12 minutes for the match. If it is that big of a match, can you give it half hour? So I can understand the magnitude of what I'm watching.
Yeah, because it was okay, we saw the last tag match and we're okay, legit, and then it's oh, here's a promo. Okay, legit promo by Escobar. Well, here's a backstage segment. well, here's this. And it's all this time could have went to the match.
Yes.
But like you said, it was good. Both guys looked pretty strong in it. I thought Ciampa looked, a lot better. But, that was probably by design. Even when they did the weigh-in, Ciampa's flexing, doing his best Conor McGregor. And I like how Timothy Thatcher just...
You love it. Tell of the tape right there.
Yeah, and I don't love Conor McGregor, but I love how Thatcher gets on the scale. He has 25 pounds on Tommaso Ciampa. He just gets off and he's 25 pounds and 4 inches in height. So, this is... Yeah, and 5 inches reach. So you see all the pros go to Timothy Thatcher.
9 inches on teeth, all that.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's it. If you're going for teeth, Ciampa should have won this thing.
The ruling of the match, I like this picture. See, right there, so everybody understand what is a fight pit is. Decision must happen within the pit, no pinfalls, and win or knockout, submission. That's how you win the match. So it was good though. I think that this one's even better than Matt Riddle and Timothy Thatcher. I want to hear your thoughts on this. But when it comes to me, I like that the story was told in a really nice way. For example, how they use the cage and for example, Ciampa was beating Thatcher into the cage and hitting the head and making him groggy. Same thing with Ciampa to Thatcher. All of those interactions were pretty good. Even when he had the arm locked in some kind of way and then was trying to injure the arm when it Ciampa to Thatcher. So I really like this. And also the story for Thatcher, it meant more because it's this is his special match. That's what he's good at, and he actually can be better. He enhances this is his environment. So I like this.
No, yeah, that would be the Undertaker in a casket match. That's his match. He might lose it, but he's probably gonna win it because it's his match. It's his specialty. But I actually like the Matt Riddle match a little more. I thought that had a more legit story. Excuse me. Just for Pete Dunne leaves. Now I'm your partner. Okay, I turn on you. All this stuff. And it seemed like an even plane. This seemed very one-sided. I was so surprised that Ciampa didn't put this away in 5 minutes, to be honest. And when I'm watching, I'm okay, Thatcher might actually have a chance. And I was completely shocked by the ending, but this is really good. Also, the first match, I like more Kurt Angle as the referee. That, to me, just made it feel a lot more legit. But, this was really good. I like, he hits the Widow's Bell, or what is it? Is the Widow's Bell?
Fairy tale ending.
Fairy tale ending. Yeah, the Widow's Bell, I think, is a DDT. But yeah, he hits the fairy tale ending. He gets up because it's only knockout or tap out and all this stuff. And he had kind of had him in like a choke towards the end.
A sleeper hold. Yeah,
and you see Thatcher's face, his eyes popping out of his head. I'm oh my God, he's gonna tap here. And like you said, you brought up a perfect point weeks ago. This guy's the master of submissions. The last thing we should ever see him do is tap out.
Yes.
Because whenever you put submissions on these master of submissions, they're like water. They just flow right out of it. They know how to get out of every hole. Right? Yeah, and that's what he does. He's in that choke. He kind of stands up, And then, like you saw in that picture, he gets his leg wedged in the support beam on the corner there, and then he does kind of, what do they call it? Not a leg lace. What do they call it?
He did a stretcher.
Yeah. Oh, the muff stretcher or whatever. Yeah.
And you can see, for example, when he holds the hands like this, it adds more pressure to it. And the best point that Wade Barrett said is like, oh, and that's the knee, the
surgically repaired knee.
Surgically repaired, yes. So like you add the story, you add that detail, that line right there. What is that doing? It's like, oh, if he wants to keep that knee, he was going to have to tap out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And what happened, Paul?
And he tapped that. I mean, and it was legit, and because, like I said, I did not see it coming until that moment. You look at the clock and you think, okay, it's like 10:05. Yeah, he's probably this is probably the end of it. They're not gonna have too much more run over. He's gonna tap, and he does, and this is legit for Thatcher. But it's like, where does he go? What does he do? The one thing I would want to see, because there is some history. There is a little bit. If you go back a couple weeks ago, maybe have Thatcher get a win over here against a jobber or something. But once you put that belt on Kushida, to me, that's the first big feud for Kushida.
That needs to be. I agree with you. Like Gargano, hey, why can't he just get a break? A few months, reevaluate, have a break with the weight.
He's completely overexposed and stale. He's like crackers you found in the back of the cupboard from 2007. He is stale.
And especially if you hear Cornette talking about Gargano, man, my God, that guy's so buried, more buried like at The Undertaker 96, first buried alive. So bad. Completely buried. But like I say, this is like the face of me and Jean Paul when we're done with Monday Night Raw review.
What did you think of like the ending there, where like Ciampa's sitting in the corner like so, and Thatcher's just on his knees staring at him? I'm like, are they gonna kiss? I'm like, I'm like, what the fuck? It's like weird.
It's one of those couples that when you have like arguments and then like, just make it up. We're gonna make it up. No, I think it's like, I don't want to think that they're going to keep with this, or maybe they become a tag.
No, I mean, the only thing to me, which would be bullshit, would be if Ciampa's like, oh, I respect you now. I'm like, really? Like, to me, because like Ciampa was kind of disrespecting him, all this, blah, blah, blah. And, Thatcher always said, I don't have no problems with you, whatever. You want to do your own shit. And Ciampa was kind of putting his nose in his business and stuff.
My teeth. I'm good.
Yeah.
All of that. Yeah, you're right. I just want to be booked like the way you said it. Kushida wins the North American Championship, and then you boot Thatcher, because Thatcher is not going to go for the NXT Championship. There's no way. They're not going to do it. There's so many guys ahead of him. There's not a single way that is going to happen. But at least, mid-card title, give him a chance. If you do it with Priest, you do it with all these other guys. You have Bronson right there. Have them have a tournament, or maybe like a fatal four-way, something that can enhance whoever the winner is. So that's what they can do. But I think that's the end of the review, family. I think we hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did, because we love to talk about professional wrestling to every single one of you. NXT at least gave us a little better of a show from the past weeks. We got to see AEW, what happens tomorrow. But tomorrow we're always excited because it's NXT UK's time. The best hour in professional wrestling. So that's going to be a plus. So, what's another plus from you guys to us? Subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and what else?
And also make sure you follow us on Rope Break on Facebook, the OG Rope Break on Twitter, Original Rope Break on Instagram, and of course, the home of the #1 podcast in the YouTube wrestling community, the Original Rope Break.
So you and me have one more thing that is left to say, and that is...